As they just entered the Hell Path passage, the sound of water dripping from an unknown source echoed, sharply striking the nerves of the three. Their nerves were taut, unwilling to relax even for a moment. With the faint light from the sacred flame, they pressed forward through the near oval-shaped passage. Creak. The three of them focused on the positions ahead and behind, but failed to notice beneath their feet. A crisp collision sound rang out, and their nerves immediately tightened, their scalps tingling with shock. What's that noise? Xiao, holding the sacred flame fireblade, slowly shone the light down to examine his feet. White bones, corpses. So many? A chill flashed through Xiaoyan's heart. Looking down at the layers of white bones and corpses spread across the passage, an ominous feeling began to spread through his mind. At that very moment, a fierce, silent aura of violence emanated from those cold bones, wrapping around Xiao. Be careful. Yun? Ru? Xiao stretched out his hand, attempting to probe the pile of bones, but as he turned around, he suddenly realized that the two women who had been following closely behind were no longer in sight. A wave of unease spread through him intensely. Wum. The void trembled, and then transformed into a haunting image. The scene was not still, like a memory crystal, showing vivid and striking moments. Xun'er. In the image, Xun'er stood gracefully, dressed in a refined green gown, sitting quietly by the side. Mistress, Lord Xiao has already gone to the Six Paths Reincarnation Hall. All matters in the Endless Fire domain have been arranged. Once you give the order, the entire Endless Fire domain will treat you as its master. A handsome young man walked toward her from outside the pavilion. Little Yi, Sen Kailin and Mu Yingying, along with those Xiao clan descendants, to the center of the human realm. The Endless Fire domain is utterly foolish, trying to challenge the human realm's center. Xun'er's expression was strange, and she spoke like a sorceress, her words carrying a disturbing, frenzied tone. No. Watching this scene, Xiaoyan's eyes instantly filled with a scarlet light, an invisible killing intent shaking his heart. Impossible. This is an illusion. The sacred flame surged, jolting Xiaoyan's heart. He quickly closed his eyes to focus, channeling his burning technique and soul power, releasing strong protective forces to shield his mind. Xiao, I want you dead. Although Xiao had closed his eyes, the eerie voices continued to ring out from the scene before him, including some disturbingly seductive moans. Anyone whose mind wasn't firm would likely be trapped by such illusions. Such a petty trick. You should give it up? Xiao sneered, clearly dismissive. He was very familiar with Xun'er and the others, and this illusion was so low-level it almost seemed laughable. Crack! Xiao, are you all right? A voice broke through, and Xiao suddenly opened his eyes, seeing the anxious expressions and voices of the two women behind him. I'm fine. What just happened? Xiao stood up. The previous scene had been dangerous. If it hadn't been for the timely warning from his burning technique and the sacred flame, he might have been lured in. That seemingly low-level illusion was filled with an irresistible, strange fluctuation. You suddenly knelt down when you noticed the bones, then froze. Your body was surrounded by golden flames. Even we couldn't do anything. Looks like these white bones belong to powerful beings who got lost in the illusion. Let's go. After speaking, the three of them once again walked deeper into the passage. This is a stone door? Having shaken off the previous emotional impact of the illusion, they moved forward as if walking on solid ground. After a while, a strong golden stone door suddenly appeared in front of them, blocking their path. The door was covered in bronze, seemingly ordinary, but exuding an ancient aura. On the door, 6 oddly shaped holes were visible. From within those 6 holes came a terrifying fluctuation that seemed to shake the very heavens and earth. Do we need a key? Xiao furrowed his brows. Along the way, he hadn't seen any sign of a key, except near the piles of bones. Try using the sacred flame. The flower spirit suddenly spoke, reminding Xiao. Behind this stone door, there should be a trial prepared by the Six Paths Reincarnation Immortal. That means this is a trial of the Hell Path. If we choose correctly, we might go straight to the main hall. But if we make the wrong choice, a battle is inevitable. Before the stone door, the flower spirit continued, at this point, we have no choice but to charge forward. Xiao frowned and slowly walked toward the stone door, his sacred flame power trembling uncontrollably, as if being drawn by some unknown force. As Xiao approached the stone door, a sudden surge of intense energy fluctuations erupted from the narrow, dark passage around him. A fierce, violent aura spread out from the void, charging towards Xiao body like a starving beast, crazed and wild. Xiao, are you all right? As the violent energy entered his body, Xiao eyes instantly turned blood red. A cold, murderous intent surged in his heart, slowly attempting to transform him into a beast that only knew slaughter. In the distance, Yun, her hand surrounded by sacred flame flowers, urgently shouted, "Roar!" With blood-red eyes, filled with murderous intent, Xiao locked his fierce gaze on the two women in front of him. A crazed smile spread across his face. Fall back. Something's wrong with his aura. Yuru suddenly pulled Yun back, her heart chilled by the murderous intent in Xiao gaze. The violent aura was just too overwhelming. In Xiao eyes, blood-red and glass-like fire flashes blinked wildly. After a moment, his body coughed violently, forcing the vicious energy out with his overwhelming strength. Huff, huff. This is the power of those white bones. Quickly burn them away. Panting heavily, Xiao spoke to the two women. Boom, boom, boom. Yun was quick to react, turning around in an instant. In a few moments, the sacred flame erupted, scorching the ominous, corpse-filled pile completely. The illusion has wiped out all their power. Their bodies turned to bones, but they still carry a powerful resentment, leaving behind violent energy that lingers in this passage. If not for the sacred flame, it would have been easy to fall into their trap. After taking a short rest, Xiao stood up again, his gaze fixed on the stone door. A grave expression appeared on his face. Is this a path of life or death? He murmured to himself, then raised his hand. A liquid of glass-like color seeped out slowly, quietly filling 6 strange holes. Wong, wong, wong. At the wave of this energy, the stone door, ancient and closed for thousands of years, began to tremble, releasing a burst of scorching white mist. The entire door rippled with a fierce energy tide, slowly opening. The sacred flame entered the stone door, resonating with Xiao own energy. He easily filled the 6 holes, causing the door to begin slowly opening. At the same time, an ancient, sacred, and strange aura began to seep through the cracks of the door. As it emerged, it caused everyone to shudder, and white mist continuously spilled from the gaps. The white mist was incredibly hot and contained an ancient, desolate aura, causing Xiao and the others to change their expressions. Move. The 3 exchanged glances, then immediately rushed into the stone door, heading toward the so-called Hell Path test. Gulp. What is this? Is this the molten hell? Just after leaving the Hell Path passage and breaking through the stone door, confusion flooded Xiao and the others. Before their eyes, they saw a vast molten world covered entirely by pitch-black flames. An eerie, cold atmosphere filled their senses. In the boundless space, black molten fire pillars continually surged and rolled, painting the scene like true hell. The black flames carried a chilling, eerie aura, and bubbles began to form within. Once they exploded, they sent out terrifying shockwaves that could twist the very fabric of space itself. This power would be an extremely tricky challenge, even for Xiao now. Looks like we picked the wrong path. This is a dead end. As the stone door closed, trapping Xiao and the others inside, the space became filled with black molten fire. Destructive waves and terrifying heat flooded the void, instilling a deep sense of unease. Then let's break through. Yun and Yuru both sneered coldly, their eyes scanning the surroundings. This molten hell was not like the fire worlds of the outside. In this space, strange black fire pillars hovered in the air, and they seemed to carry some sort of powerful aura that was lying dormant. When they focused, they could vaguely make out figures hidden within the fire pillars. These figures were surrounded by black flames, their fists tightly clenched, their eyes closed, and their entire bodies exuded a fierce aura. What was even more eerie was that despite being asleep, these figures had an astonishingly strong presence. Upon closer inspection, one could sense that their skin was lifelike, and the vitality within them was still strong. "Look, there's a strange figure over there." After a moment, Yuru suddenly raised her jade hand, her face filled with shock as she pointed to the center of the molten hell world. There, a figure surrounded by black fire pillars stood tall. His handsome face, well-formed limbs, and long black hair made him appear exceptional, even in a state of deep slumber, as if he were the true ruler of this hellish world. Slave refinement technique? I can't believe such a long-lost puppet technique has appeared here. At this moment, Xiao Yan's eyes were filled with disbelief. Others couldn't notice it, but with his soul power at the early stage of the spirit-wandering realm, Xiao Yan could clearly sense the abundant vitality and power fluctuations within this figure. The Six Paths Reincarnation Immortal wields a top-tier immortal technique known as the Slave Refinement Technique. Through relentless research, he divided his Six Paths Reincarnation into 6 paths of servants, creating 6 powerful puppet fire slaves, his most capable subordinates. Xiao Yan's gaze was wary as he watched the black figure before him. He could distinctly sense a real threat emanating from it. Though Xiao Yan's strength was terrifying, without using his demonic powers or divine artifacts, his limit was likely only at the peak of the 3rd-tier reincarnation stage. After all, the higher one ascended within the reincarnation stages, the greater the difference in power. And most importantly, Xiao Yan didn't know which fire slave this one was out of the 6. If it was the strongest one, the human path fire slave, he might have no choice but to retreat. What should we do now? The longer they stayed, the more unease slowly took hold of their hearts. In this fiery magma world, those strange black flames were gradually eroding their life force and reincarnation power. In such a dangerous place, once their reincarnation power was depleted, death would be imminent. Since this is a test, defeating him may be the only way to pass it. Xiao Yan narrowed his eyes slightly, continuing to observe the black fire slave, clearly thinking about how to awaken it. But if I awaken it recklessly, will something go wrong? Yun immediately noticed Xiao Yan's hesitation and hurriedly spoke up. At this point, we have no choice but to try. You all step back. As soon as Xiao Yan finished speaking, he suddenly raised his palm. A terrifying, dazzling palm made of 6-colored sacred flame gathered, and he slammed it violently toward the black figure high in the sky. With this strike, though it didn't distort the void, the aura contained within it was certainly not to be underestimated. Boom! Xiao Yan's seemingly mighty strike barely touched the fire pillar next to the black figure, and it was instantly extinguished like a moth to the flame. However, the pillar showed faint cracks. Woo! Woo! A sound like the stiff and jerky grinding of mechanical joints slowly drifted down from the sky. Gurgle. This guy. He's really alive. Watching this terrifying scene, Xiao Yan's throat clenched, and an unprecedented sense of gravity appeared on his face. The fire slaves created by the 6 Paths Reincarnation Immortal with Sacred Flame were no ordinary puppets. Vroom vroom. As the fire pillar shattered, black fire clouds surged from the magma world below, wrapping around the black figure. Even within the shattered fire pillar, a mighty aura that overshadowed this world was awakening at an astonishing speed. Leave it to me for now. You all stay alert around us. Xiao Yan spoke, and his body was enveloped by sacred flame as an incredibly powerful divine force surged from within him. To deal with this one, it seemed he had to get serious. Boom! As soon as the black fire slave awakened, a terrifying, fearsome aura filled its entire body. The black markings on its forehead wriggled as it continuously absorbed the surrounding black flame power. The black flames flickered, and though they did not fluctuate violently, they slowly revived its vitality and awakened the power it had been dormant with for countless years. I am the Hellfire Slave. Those who dare enter the Hell Path, die. The black figure's cold and indifferent eyes suddenly opened, A terrifying aura that could shake the very heavens erupted like a volcano. A chilling, ice-cold killing intent poured out mercilessly, setting off sharp alarms in the three people's minds. This guy's strength is actually at the quasi-fourth reincarnation stage. Looking up at the indifferent hellfire slave, with killing intent radiating from its eyes, Xiao narrowed his gaze. A heavy pressure overwhelmed him. The Hell Path Fire Slave ranked fourth among the 6 Paths Fire Slaves. If the fourth puppet possessed such terrifying strength, then the so-called Heavenly Path or Human Path Fire Slaves probably possessed at least the strength of the 5th or even 6th reincarnation stage. If that's the case, the 6 Paths Reincarnation Immortal strength was truly horrifying. It must be known that cultivating such a top-tier immortal technique requires one to have immense power, and the puppets created could never exceed the strength of the creator. The Hellfire Slave stood still in the sky like a cold-blooded killer. It silently raised its somewhat numb arm and waved it towards the world of flames below. Although the Hellfire Slave's movements were stiff, with that wave, a black flame spread out like energy ripples, easily shattering the fire pillars that had been sealing and suppressing the fire slaves below. Crack! In an instant, all the fire pillars in the world quietly shattered, and waves of powerful fire slaves locked their gaze on Xiao and the others, their eyes sharp as torches. The sheer number of these fire slaves filled most of the flame world. A glance at them would send a chilling sensation down one's spine. These fire slaves' strength ranged around the reincarnation stage, but their numbers were in the thousands. With such overwhelming numbers, even Xiao and his group couldn't help but show grim expressions. We'll deal with the other fire slaves. Looking at the countless fire slaves rushing toward them, Yu and Yun exchanged a glance, and their internal powers surged. Be careful. These fire slaves are puppets tempered by the sacred flame. Their strength should not be underestimated. Looking at the vast number of enemies, Xiao said in a deep voice, "Roar! Roar! Roar!" Before his words even ended, countless fire slaves swept across the sky like locusts, carrying the power to destroy everything. Their momentum was overwhelming and suffocating. Kill! Yu raised the moon god sword high, and a crescent moon appeared behind her. With a surge of moon god power, she struck down, slaying nearly half of the fire slaves in one blow. The fire slaves, struck by such an attack, trembled and instantly turned into dust, dispersing into the air. Whir! Just as the fiery dust vanished, more fire slaves surged from the fiery purgatory below, exploding out like a tidal wave, their momentum earth-shattering and awe-inspiring. It seems we must deal with this one first. Xiao took a deep breath, and his eyes filled with a trace of grim determination. Kill! The Hellfire Slave's gaze turned vicious, focusing on Xiao with a glimmer of human-like greed in its eyes. You want to devour the sacred flame power within me to enhance yourself? Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Dragon God Transformation. Xiao shouted, and in an instant, his body was covered in dragon scales, with his palm transforming into a claw, ready to strike. Thud, thud, thud. The Hellfire Slave hesitated for a moment as it looked at the dragon scales that suddenly appeared on Xiao body, as though it was contemplating something. Dragon God Claw. Xiao seized the opportunity. His body surged with power, leaving a trail of afterimages in the void. His claw struck like a tidal wave, aimed directly at the Hellfire Slave's head. The Dragon God Claw, capable of destroying all life, was such a terrifying attack that even a quasi-fourth reincarnation stage expert would likely be unable to withstand it. Boom! The ferocious and sharp attack created a howling wind that surged outward. Xiao Dragon God Claw, like the scythe of the Grim Reaper, struck the Hellfire Slave dead on. However, it didn't create any disturbance, as though it had struck an indestructible boulder. The Hellfire Slave sneered, its body abruptly tensing up. Then, without warning, black flames erupted from within, pushing Xiao away in a sudden burst of force. Ordinary puppets cannot use Dou Qi and rely solely on their physical bodies in battle. But this Hellfire slave seems to be able to manipulate the power of black flames, and its physical strength is strong enough to ignore the Dragon God Claw's attack? What's going on here? The Dragon God Claw instantly vanished, but Xiao Yin could still feel the faint reverberation of backlash in his arm, making him even more surprised. This was something unprecedented. Kill. Wrapped in black flames, the Hellfire slave's defensive and offensive powers were elevated once more, evidently realizing from Xiao Yan's previous attack that this human before it was no easy target. Empowered by the black flames, the Hellfire slave's body surged, and it launched itself towards Xiao Yin with terrifying force. Boom! Each punch, kick, and strike from the Hellfire slave was like the attack of a seasoned veteran, fierce and relentless. Had Xiao Yin not been equally skilled, he might have easily fallen into a difficult situation. If struck by such terrifying strength, even surviving would leave one grievously injured. This puppet, relying solely on brute force and black flames, had power that was simply horrifying. Xiao Yan's mind was racing, and his body was swiftly retreating. He didn't confront the Hellfire slave head-on, but behind him, 6 types of flames subtly rotated, subtly brewing an oppressive, suffocating aura. Crack! What is Xiao Yan doing? Seeing Xiao Yan's predicament, Yuru quickly slaughtered more fire slaves before speaking up. If even Xiao Yan couldn't defeat this creature, their situation would be perilous. This guy's pretty greedy, Yun remarked, glancing at Xiao Yan's 6 sacred flames, and immediately felt reassured. While the Hellfire slave's strength was formidable, Xiao Yan clearly wasn't about to let him off easy. Hehe, let's see how this works. 6 flames. Buddha's Fury Reincarnation. After Xiao Yan spoke, the 6 sacred flames behind him fused into a delicate lotus platform, slowly rotating and radiating boundless mysterious power. Bang! 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 The Hellfire slave hadn't even reacted before his entire body violently contracted, taking the brunt of Xiao Yan's terrifying attack. Boom! The entire fiery world shook with a deafening roar, and all the fire slaves were instantly annihilated, leaving the world eerily quiet. The black flames below no longer dared to surge forward, behaving like humble servants. In the sky, the Hellfire slave was caught at the center of the explosion. The sheer destructive force twisted his expression in pain, but even so, his puppet body remained unscathed. This puppet, tempered by the 3rd sacred flame, was so terrifying that even Xiao Yan's fusion of 6 sacred flames couldn't inflict any real damage. Just how horrifying was this creature? Boom, boom, boom. In the blazing hell of flames, the scorching sacred flames wreaked havoc, eradicating every last fire slave. Long moments passed before the center of the battle in the sky. Roar! The Hellfire slave's black markings on his forehead grew faint, and his eyes were filled with a crimson bloodthirsty light. He ignored the intense waves of sacred flame around him and exploded forward, fists clenched, radiating a massive killing intent as he charged at Xiao Yan once again. Crack! This time, Xiao Yan unleashed his immense soul power, forming a colossal celestial net that bound the Hellfire slave's movements. Otherwise, even Xiao Yan wouldn't be able to resist such overwhelming destructive power, which surpassed the Dragon God transformation. Roar! The Hellfire slave growled, black flames curling like magical serpents above his head. A series of terrifying ripples spread from him, shaking the very air. His gaze was vicious, like an unstoppable flood or wild beast. Xiao Yan, be careful. Seeing the Hellfire slave ignoring most of the 6-colored sacred flame attacks, Yun, holding the Taiji Heavenly Emperor sword, stood gracefully beside him. If the Hellfire slave broke free from Xiao Yan's restraints, Yun would undoubtedly strike without hesitation. It's fine. This puppet is a great asset. Contrary to Yun's serious demeanor, Xiao Yan's face revealed a faint smile, as though he wasn't surprised by the Hellfire slave's terrifying defense. What are you planning? Yuru also stepped forward, her eyes fixed on Xiao Yan and the Hellfire slave. Sacred Flame Seal. Go! Xiao Yan roared, and a glass-like fire seal appeared out of thin air. radiating boundless holy power and immense soul energy. Whoosh! As the fire seal surged from Xiao Yan's hand, the temporarily restrained Hellfire Slave's body trembled strangely. The faint black markings on his forehead seemed to come alive, releasing a continuous layer of black mist that nourished the Hellfire Slave. The black mist carried a suffocating, pungent, and eerie stench. Waves from the extraterritorial evil clan? As soon as the black mist appeared, both Yun and Uru gasped in unison. Since the battle in the immortal realm, the two women had developed an acute sensitivity to the aura of the extraterritorial evil clan. Humph! A mere trace of lingering evil power, and it dares to challenge me? Fire seal. Xiao Yan snorted coldly, his precise control over his mind and soul allowing him to slowly extend his arm and throw the fire seal at the Hellfire Slave. In an instant, the heavens and earth trembled. Waves of scorching, divine energy swirled around the fire seal, as if sensing its natural enemy, buzzing in defiance. Once the black mist covered the Hellfire Slave, his entire body seemed to shift across dimensions. He stopped and broke free from Xiao Yan's restraints, gazing mockingly at the approaching fire seal, as if taunting and challenging it. Boom! Boom! Without any warning, the fire seal rained down on the Hellfire Slave's body, twisting his form as if some unseen force was warping him. Before Xiao Yan could act again, the fire seal was violently absorbed into the Hellfire Slave's body. What? Seeing this shocking scene, both Yun and Uru looked at Xiao Yan in confusion. First, the fusion of 6 flames, then this strange fire seal. What exactly was Xiao Yan planning? Xiao Yan smiled with joy upon seeing this. In the next moment, the black hair of the Hellfire Slave was suddenly replaced by a streak of glass-like flame. Divine power surged, and it swiftly expelled the black mist that had been engulfing it. Even the black flame patterns on the Hellfire Slave's forehead were disappearing rapidly. An eerie, strange sound echoed, like the wailing of some evil creature. The entire void grew silent, and the world of flames below also fell quiet. Gulch! After a long while, when the black mist and the black patterns on the Hellfire Slave completely vanished, Xiao Yan's gaze grew tense as he stepped forward to approach the Hellfire Slave. Would it succeed? He had first used the 6-colored sacred flame to annihilate the other fire slaves, turning the entire space into a sacred domain filled with the aura of the sacred flame, and then combined his soul power with the sacred flame to form a fire seal. If he could expel the patterns from the Hellfire Slave's forehead, Xiao Yan believed there was a good chance that the fire seal he had cultivated could even control the Hellfire Slave. The 6 Paths Reincarnation Hall was too mysterious, and the information they had was scarce. If he could control the Hellfire Slave, it would be like adding fuel to the fire, greatly benefiting their next steps. Master! Before long, the usually quiet Hellfire Slave suddenly turned its gaze towards Xiao Yan, lifting its proud head in respect. At this moment, a glass-like fire seal glowed dazzlingly at the Hellfire Slave's forehead, glaring and brilliant. It worked. Xiao Yan's heart gave a small leap of joy upon hearing this. Luckily, he had devoured and annihilated all the evil powers inside the Hellfire Slave, successfully taking control of it. Otherwise, they would have been in for a tough battle. Although Xiao Yan wasn't afraid, he preferred to avoid unnecessary conflict. So powerful. At this moment, Uru looked at Xiao Yan with a complex expression. In such a crisis, to think of regaining control of a puppet, it was a tactic that could only come from Xiao Yan. Tell me everything you know about the 6 Paths Reincarnation Hall, including the Heavenly Tao Reincarnation Flame and the 6 Paths Reincarnation Immortal. Xiao Yan, along with the others, calmly crossed the void and stood before the Hellfire Slave, waiting for it to speak. I am the Hellfire Slave, one of the 6 guards of the 6 Paths Reincarnation Hall, guarding the 6 passages. My rank is 4th. Upon passing through the 6 Paths Reincarnation passages, you will enter the Reincarnation Realm. In the Reincarnation Realm, there are countless rare treasures. Passing through the Reincarnation Realm, you will reach the resting place of the 6 Paths Reincarnation Immortal. The Heavenly Tao Reincarnation Flame is also sealed within the central part of the hall, alongside the Six Paths Reincarnation Immortal. The Hellfire Slave spoke word for word, recounting all the information it knew. Do you know anything about the so-called Sixth Evil God stage power? Hearing these simple pieces of information, Xiao shook his head helplessly. These weren't the most important details. Master, the Sixth Evil God has been completely erased by the Six Paths Reincarnation Immortal. Upon being asked by Xiao, the Hellfire Slave directly replied, Erased completely? Why does the evil aura still linger within you? And those black flames? Xiao shook his head, feeling a dizziness in his mind. It seemed like everything had become even more mysterious. The Hellfire Slave under Xiao control couldn't possibly lie, but the aura of this cave seemed deeply off. Either the Hellfire Slave didn't know the true situation, or the Sixth Evil God had been reborn. Or perhaps there was some powerful force at play here. In any case, as Xiao delved deeper into the cave, his burning mantra and sacred flame faintly conveyed a sense of unease. That unease felt as if they were facing an extraordinarily powerful adversary, causing the sacred flame to stir restlessly. At the end of the Hellfire Passage, Xiao and the others remained, questioning the Hellfire Slave about the cave's secrets. Do you know the location of the heaven-stabilizing divine needle? What about the other fragment of the heavenly Tao reincarnation flame? At the same time, Xiao and Yuru spoke in unison. Clearly both questions were of paramount importance to them. One was for the reconstruction of the immortal realm, and the other was likely related to the final possessor of the heavenly Tao reincarnation flame, which could not be taken lightly. The heaven-stabilizing divine needle is located within the reincarnation pond of the reincarnation realm. As for the other fragment of the heavenly Tao reincarnation flame, it seems to be around the heaven-stabilizing divine needle, but its trace is too mysterious and no one has been able to find it. The Hellfire Slave recalled the questions the two asked and, after a long moment, finally stammered out the reply, sounding quite vague as though its memory was unclear on the matter. This only served to confirm Xiao suspicions that this cave was far from simple. Let's go. We'll head to the reincarnation realm first, Xiao said, commanding the Hellfire Slave to lead the way. At the same time, many figures had already broken through the barriers of the Six Paths Passage and successfully entered the reincarnation realm. However, no one dared to act like Xiao, harboring ill intentions toward these Six Paths puppets. After all, the strength of the Six Paths puppets should not be underestimated. Yet, many keen-eyed individuals had noticed something strange. These powerful puppets were only stationed to guard the passage, which seemed illogical. Logically, such powerful puppets would be used to protect the most precious treasures, so why were they placed on the outermost layer? Reincarnation realm? So this is a vast primordial forest. Forests, mountains, lakes, and all sorts of exotic flowers and plants. What kind of treasure land is this? Upon breaking through the passage and entering the reincarnation realm, Yun gently covered her jade-like mouth and gazed at the vast expanse of the realm, which stretched tens of thousands of meters. She exclaimed in astonishment. Looking up, in the vast reincarnation realm before them, there were invisible yet powerful fluctuations of energy permeating the air. Countless lush green plants and rocks appeared, seemingly endless. At the center, there was a diamond-shaped lake about 100 meters wide, its surface shimmering with a sparkling light, releasing a fragrant aroma that enticed the senses. Within the entire reincarnation realm, many birds and beasts resided, occasionally letting out faint growls. Their powers were not trivial, and it seemed as though they were guarding the land. It seems that many have already arrived here. The moment the three of them arrived, they felt an immense pressure, constantly suppressing the reincarnation power within them. With narrowed eyes, they spoke. The creatures in the reincarnation realm are mostly violent by nature. Once they detect intruders, they will eliminate them at the fastest speed. Master, please be cautious. Looking at the vibrant green world, Hellfire Slave Gubwa's calm eyes slightly shifted, giving Xiao the impression that the Hellfire Slave seemed unfamiliar with this place. Where is the heaven-stabilizing divine needle? Whoosh whoosh. As soon as Xiao finished speaking, the Hellfire Slave quickly moved. Follow me. Xiao exchanged a glance with the two women before leading the way. Xiao, thank you. Hearing Xiao words, Yuru's heart was slightly calmed. With Xiao accompanying her, retrieving the heaven-stabilizing divine needle would probably be much easier. Boom! As the four of them moved quickly, startling energy fluctuations spread throughout the forest. Thick black smoke filled the air, accompanied by an overwhelming and brutal aura. Xiao, wait a moment. Yun's speed surged, and she leaped directly in front of Xiao, her expression grave. What's going on? Xiao halted the Hellfire slave and looked at Yun in confusion. Buzz buzz. Behind Yun, a green sword sheath trembled, as though something was trying to break free from it. Within the green sword sheath was, of course, the Taiji Heavenly Emperor Sword, a divine artifact. The two evil spirits within the artifact are releasing a very uneasy emotion. It seems that there are creatures here even more powerful than them. Yun's beautiful eyes scanned the entire reincarnation realm. Though she found nothing, based on the fluctuations from the Taiji Heavenly Emperor Sword, she still spoke with concern. For the two evil spirits to feel this uneasy, the creatures here at the very least must be at the peak of the 5th reincarnation stage, or even stronger. Boom! Just as the three hesitated for a moment, a giant creature suddenly descended from the sky, shaking the entire green world. Its sharp eyes were like those of the Grim Reaper. Its body was enormous, with cyan feathers hiding a terrifying power. The aura it released made one's heart chill. It seems to have something in its mouth. Yuru's sharp eyes focused on the strange creature as it howled through the air, urgently shouting. In this reincarnation realm, they had lost all ability to fly. Yet this creature was still able to soar? It's human. Or rather, it's a dead man. Xiao furrowed his brow, then looked at the massive creature in the sky, perplexed. This is the Mystic Ice Sacred Flamehawk, a creature comparable to the peak of the 4th reincarnation stage. The Hellfire slave spoke uncontrollably, and there was even a rare trace of hostility in his eyes. Move! Xiao suppressed his aura, releasing his soul power to shield himself. He then quietly led the group, intending to bypass the forest and head toward the reincarnation pool. There was no need to waste too much time and energy here before reaching the final moment. Not good. This beast has detected us. As they began to move, Xiao suddenly felt his body stiffen. A cold sense of death enveloped his mind. Chirp, chirp, chirp. The Mystic Ice Sacred Flamehawk casually twisted its beak, throwing the human it held in its mouth away. Its massive body plummeted, using the terrifying impact of its descent to stir up a cloud of dust in the air. Hee, it's that fool from the Endless Fire domain. This Mystic Ice Sacred Flamehawk is especially sensitive to soul power. It even actively released its soul power to protect itself. Isn't it seeking death? Don't say that. If it weren't for this guy drawing the attention of the guardian beast, we wouldn't have a chance to search for treasures in the reincarnation pool. A sinister and eerie sound echoed through the air, and instantly, waves of energy surged from the ground throughout the entire reincarnation realm, shooting toward the reincarnation pool. Yun, Yuru, take the Hellfire slaves and head for the reincarnation pool. I'll handle things here. Xiao body moved swiftly, but no matter how fast he was, the next moment, the Mystic Ice Sacred Flamehawk was already tailing him closely. The Mystic Ice Sacred Flamehawk was surrounded by a faint, dim orange light. With such an aura, even Xiao found it somewhat tricky to face. Understood. The two women responded in a low voice, then immediately surged forward, heading straight for the reincarnation pool. Within the vast forest of the entire reincarnation realm, Xiao was being chased by the Mystic Ice Sacred Flamehawk, darting in all directions. Meanwhile, dozens of distinct powerful auras gathered one after another, heading toward the reincarnation pool. It was clear what their goal was. The reincarnation pool not only housed many treasures, but was also the key to entering the place where the Six Paths Reincarnation Immortal had transcended. And this so-called place of transcendence not only contained the Six Paths Reincarnation Immortal's lifelong knowledge, but also held the sacred flame. Whoever obtained these would be able to undergo a true transformation,